I'm going to put the recording on now. Thank you everybody for joining here. We are live, and this webinar is going to be called 11 SEO Tips for Your Website Optimization. I'm hosting this for the Power Entrepreneur. My name is Heshy Friedman, and I run a company called Radial Creations. We do website design, we do SEO, we do website marketing, and I'm going to tell you some of my own tricks in the bag that I use for every website that we launch, or for some of the jobs that we're doing. Whenever we launch a website, we have some of our standard SEO policies, as well as what we add on for additional SEO work for clients. If anybody, if you guys can just shout out in the chat if you can hear me well. Let me know. Let me know if you can hear me well, and just want to make sure that I'm not talking to myself. By default, all the attendees are muted. If you have any questions, just mention it in the chat, and we'll go from there. Okay. So everybody, just if you can mention who you are, what your name is. I just like to interact with the audience. So let's share my screen here. I'm going to try to talk and show the screen together simultaneously. I don't like monologue when I'm just talking to myself, and there's no one else on the in the speaker view that I'm talking together. So I'm going to share that together with the screen view as well. So let's start right now with the some of the things I'm going to show you here. So the idea of this is that there's a lot of people that are home now, a lot of people that are not at work, and this is a great time to learn new things. This is a great time to learn new tips, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to teach you some of the tricks that I use as a website development company, there's no better time to learn this. Okay, so let's see why this is not sharing the next screen here. Let's just go to the next. Okay, so the first thing, I'm going to go through one thing at a time, and this is my screen number one. And again, if anybody has any questions throughout this discussion, feel free to mention it in the chat. Now, Google uses many different things. Google has many different methods that they use to determine the ranking of websites. And a lot of them are beyond the standard control, but we do have influence in a lot of them. We have influence to control many of the things that are there, and the more we can influence them, the better we'll do. So this idea is that while we can't control Google, we can certainly influence the rankings. Now, one of the first things I'd like to mention here is I mentioned is site speed. Basically, if your site is slow and takes a long time to load, besides the fact that when people go there, they might get frustrated and leave the site, Google is going to demote your ranking when it's slow. They're going to penalize you for slow rankings, in their rankings for being slow. Now, the issue could be related to the server. You're on a slow server. You're using a lot of resources. The images could be very large. Video could be not optimized properly. You just have to make sure that you can test your site on various site speed tools. Make sure that your site is running fast, and make sure your images are properly optimized. This is one of the biggest issues that causes websites to go slow, is that images are just uploaded and they're not optimized for the web properly. If you're using, let's say, WordPress, you can use a tool like Smush. Before you upload the pictures, make sure to size them properly and make sure the resolution is good. Just make sure the images that you're using are proper, and that will help you along with the site speed. Let's go to the next. Let me just close this. Okay, the next thing I have here I'm going to share with you is website URL. Now, Google is very, very, okay, now this doesn't only apply to Google. I'm going to use the word Google because that is by far the most popular search engine, but most of these principles also apply to search engines like Bing, but again, for practically speaking, we're dealing with Google here because that's what people are using, but a lot of these are going to hold true for other search engines as well. Okay, the URL is also very important. If you have a keyword, you want to have the name in the keyword, in the URL itself. So let's say, for example, if you can do that, if your company, I'll give you an example, is you're a paving company, you pave driveways, you pave streets. So, one of our clients is Crown Paving. Having the word paving in there is going to be important. It's crownpavingnj.com. So they also have the localization of the New Jersey in there. That's as far as the main URL goes. Sometimes it's not possible. If your company name doesn't have the actual industry that you service, you can't do that. But all inner pages should have the URL of the web address should have in the tab in where it displays in the browser. Don't just have ID equals 10. You know, you should actually have the name of the page, you know, of the company. You should explain the page itself. So that way the URLs are going to have keywords in there. Google can find those URLs itself, and that will be helpful. I'm going to give you an example right now. Let me stop this share here, and I'm going to open up a web page on my own website and give you an example of what I'm talking about, so you can see it in place. Hold on. Hang on a second. My browser is just a little slow here. Let's share this with you. Share screen. Okay. This is the Radial Creations website right here. If you click, let's say, let's look at web design. Okay. So services / web design. This has keywords in here, and all our and I drill down. For example, when I click on inner pages, let's say informational website, responsive website. That when I click that, it's going to have those words. These are very important keywords. These are important keywords. So now Radial Creations, Google sees Radial Creations offers services, they do web design, and they have responsive websites. It's picking this up all directly from the URL. Okay, let's move on to our next, number 3. Let me share my screen with you on that. Number 3, Google My Business. This is what I think one of the best tricks in the bag. It's one of the easiest things to get on Google, and one of the easiest things to do to get very high rankings right away. And it just takes, it's just a few minutes of time to do. And many companies don't do this. Okay, so Google has a tool called My Business. That's what it's called, GMB, Google My Business. It allows you to index your company information. You can enter, you can put pictures of your company, you can put your hours of operation, you can put your phone number, everything is there. Google will, if you don't put that or you don't supply that to Google, Google tries to pick it up on their own based on intelligent searches of of the web. But best thing is to claim your listing, show that you're the owner of the company. They'll usually send you a postcard or some other, they'll call the number listed as the phone number to verify your business. Once you're verified as the company owner, then you can edit the hours, you can put in pictures, you can fill in your profile. The more you have a profile on Google My Business, the better off you are. So that's very important to keep in mind, to utilize Google My Business, and I'm going to show you examples as well. First is claim your listing. If you don't have a listing on Google of your business, claim it, and then you have the ability to control it. Enter your business hours, your proper company info, fill out your profile as best as possible. The better you fill it, the higher they're going to rank you. Add pictures. Google gives you the ability to add pictures. They want people to see that you're a real business and you have company pictures that you can post. And then actively solicit positive reviews. Try to get positive reviews for your company. Let me show you an example of Google My Business, and I'll show you my site as well. Share screen. Hang on. Okay, I'm just opening it here. Hang on one second. Okay, so now if I go to Google and I type in, I'm going to type in Radial Creations. Now, one of the first things I'm going to see here is on the right side here is Radial Creation. This is all Google. This is all Google. This is coming from Google My Business. I can control it. You manage this business profile. That means I can edit it and change things around here. If you type your company in, this will come up. Now, I put in photos. I show people that we have a real operation, and Google appreciates this as well. So this is all part of the things that you can do to Google. Is I have a virtual tour. You can see staff at work. So all these things are very important for Google. So that's one of the main things to do right away for SEO is get your business profile put up. Now, if you type in, let's say, web design, I mean, our company's in Mao, but Google also uses location. We're going to come up, it's going to show, you see, we're coming up here also. This is Google My Business. So the more you have your profile filled, okay, the higher up ranking you're going to show over other businesses in your industry. Okay, so that's as far as Google My Business goes. Let's move on to the next. Let's move on to number 4. Okay. Number 4 is content optimization and keywords. So let me open up the slideshow I have on this. Okay. So there's a lot involved in this one. Google reads your site for content. they want to see to make sure the relevant keywords of the searches are there. So the first thing to do as far as that goes is keyword research. Study your successful competitors and the keywords, see what words they're using. Think of words that people are using to find you and find your product, and use that in the website. Build that copy of those words into your website and all the pages. Once you have those keywords, you build the content based on those keywords throughout the site, and especially the homepage. Now, also very important, a lot of times people freeze they'll freeze text on a graphic. What you want to do is you want to use the live text whenever possible, and that way it's searchable by the search engines. Don't freeze it on an image, because Google can't read an image. You can put an alt tag to an image, which Google can read what the image is about, but it's not going to be as important as if it's actual live text. And then if you have very important keywords or services that you do, you want to add a separate page for that. So like I showed you before, I have a separate page for responsive websites. So I want, if somebody types in the word responsive website, I'll come up on Google for that type of keyword. Very important. Google is not looking for keywords stuffing. Keyword stuffing means you just dump a bunch of keywords on a page. Google wants it in a sentence format. They want it in a readable sentence format that makes sense, that's legible, and they have tools to try to figure out if that makes sense or not. So just make sure the words are properly written in sentence format or in bullet form. You're not just putting a bunch of keywords on a page. That's called keyword stuffing, and that will actually hurt you, because it's Google knows you're just there trying to snag the system. Okay, and avoid duplicate content. Google checks for duplicate content on the web. Make sure your website itself doesn't have duplicate content on more than one page that has the same thing. And also make sure that if you are getting any material from somewhere else, that you're either rewriting it. Besides for copyright issues that you might have, that's a whole nother issue. You don't want to have duplicate content. There are some companies out there, marketing companies, they're going to do the same thing for multiple of clients of theirs, and they're going to write the same content across the board for all their clients. That's not going to help you, because it's not original content. Okay. Next thing we have here. By the way, again, any questions? Feel free to share in the notes below. I'm happy to take questions while we do this. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is the actual site elements. Certain components on the website itself. I'm going to share that with you right here. Okay, so here's some things that the search engines are going to look for to make sure you're doing well. The site should be secured by SSL. It used to be SSL is basically the. Let me show you an example of what I mean by that. It's a padlock in the browser where you could see the website, address, and it shows you that it's secure. Let me show you what that looks like right here. Hang on. Okay. Now, if you look right here, there's a little padlock here. Right, connection is secure. So if you have a site that's not secure, you'll see this, red, and we'll say a warning. Now, it really doesn't make a difference if it's just an informational website that's not taking any information, because the Google, what they want to really do this for is to determine if you're a legitimate company, if you can validate your content behind an SSL. So now they require all sites to do that for proper SEO rankings. Used to be you only needed SSL on sites that are taking data, such as credit card information that need to be encrypted when the data is passed. Informational websites don't have any data passing. There's really no need for an SSL, but it's good practice now because Google wants it to make you verify your company. So that's as far. So all sites should be secured by SSL today, without a question, and that's gonna be important for the SEO. Make sure site is mobile friendly and responsive. The site is basically all sites have to be made for mobile devices today. If they're not going to resize based on the screen, then you're going to be losing your ranking on mobile searches. Google is going to intentionally de-rank you on phone searches, which account for the vast majority of searches right now that people are browsing on their mobile device. So Google says, if you're not building the site to be mobile friendly, we're not going to, we're not going to show you high up on the search engine. Okay. Now, just to give you an example, what responsive means, it kind of the site adapts and resizes and shifts itself based on whether it's a large widescreen or whether it's a tablet, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a cell phone, a large cell phone, a small cell phone, smartphone, as long as it can adapt to that, that's going to be responsive. And Google has a tool, actually, you can actually, I'll show it to you as well. If you look, watch what happens here when we resize the website. Okay, now we're like in more mobile mode. Everything kind of adapts, and the menu starts folding. Okay, so this is responsive. How it stretches and adjusts itself. You see how it wraps now, and it's always going to fill the screen nicely without having any horizontal scrolling. Google has a tool you can actually test to see if a website is secure, is mobile friendly, and that is going to be. I actually built that tool into my website itself. Right over here, and you can actually test it and test your own site. Responsive websites. Right here, you could you can put a URL and see if your site is mobile friendly. So if we do, let's say Microsoft, Microsoft.com, and we do a site check on Microsoft, Google is checking to see if Microsoft is mobile friendly. Let's see what they come up with. I think you all know what the results will be, but I just want to show it to you anyways. In the meantime, okay, that's not what I wanted to show you. Here we go. Page is mobile friendly. You see this? So Google's showing you how it loads on a mobile device, and it gives you a good ranking. So if your site's not showing like this in the Google tool, in the search.google.com test mobile friendly tool, then definitely get it redesigned to fit a mobile friendly device, and that will certainly help your SEO. Okay, let's go to our next things right here. We have, I'll just share my screen again with the list. Okay, make sure site is clean with no malware. Otherwise, whoops, otherwise site may be blocked. I've seen sites that have malware that are totally blocked by Google. Not just, sometimes Google puts a warning, like they intentionally block the site. You can't even view it. Chrome will block it. But sometimes there's malware that you don't know about, and you don't get that warning from Chrome, but you're not coming up in search engines because Google says Google detects malware that's not addressed, and it's going to totally block you from showing up at all. Even if you type the name of the company in Google, it's not going to show up. And then this is also very important. If you're redoing your website, you need something called redirection. If your site is already coming up on the search engine, and your site is already indexed by the search engines, if you go ahead and make a new site and the page names are going to change, then you're going to lose all that ranking. So what you want to do is you want to add something called redirection, which tells all those old pages to redirect to the new pages. So you'll still preserve all your ranking. You'll still preserve those existing pages, and that will bring it to the new site, and hopefully the new site will have even better indexing and better tools. So make sure anytime you redo a website that all your old pages are redirected to the new pages. Okay. Let's go on to our next page. I'm going to share it with you. Okay. By the way, everybody who's ever here, just let me know if, again, share any comments with me. If you think this is giving you value, if you'd like me to, change anything, let me know in the comments below. But I appreciate you all engaging here. And you can, instead of doing just do to everybody in the chat, all panelists and attendees, so that way I could see the comments. Otherwise, I might not necessarily see the comments, and we'd like everybody to be able to see them. So, okay, let's go to our next. Section here, which is going to be tags. Okay, people think this is the main thing of SEO. These are obviously very important, and it's not the only component, but we'll talk about them now. Tags. There's a lot of different tags that you can put on a website, which will do various things. The most important tag is called a title tag, and I'm going to show you where all these things are on a web page itself. We'll dissect it for you. The title tag shows up in the browser tab, and it shows up in the how Google generally decides to display the name of the page. That's done from the title tag. Then there's something called the meta description tag, which is a description. You put it in a sentence or two explaining what the page is, and that should be in a sentence format and have the proper keywords in there. Something called meta keywords, which this was used over 10 years ago. It's pretty much irrelevant today, where you can just put all the keywords in there. And it's, like I said, it's not used today. I don't even put them in any sites that I do. Now, other tags, Facebook introduced something called OG tags, open graph tags, where you could define which picture shows up. you can have the Facebook, when Facebook does a preview of a page, you can tell it what text to use, what picture to use. So that should also be coded within the page itself. That's another tag. And if you're using a WordPress website, a lot of these tools, all these tools pretty much, can be controlled with a plugin called Yoast, which is one of the most popular WordPress plugins, which allows you to control all the SEO elements of the tagging. Let me show you a live example of this, of all the tags that I'm talking about, or at least some of them. I don't have time to do all of them now, but I'll show you the main ones right now. If you look here, I'm just going to open it up and then share it with you. So hang on one second. Share video. Okay, so now the title, the tab. Well, this, I have a lot of tabs open, but this, what it says on the tab here is going to be the here. You see that when I put my mouse over Radial Creations, online marketing, and website design, New York, New Jersey. These are this is my title tag right here. Okay, and this is what Google is going to decide to display when it searches my company. Okay, so it doesn't always do that, but that's the most influence you can give it as far as what to display. So if we go to Google, we type again Radial Creations. Okay, you see that? This is reading my title tag, online marketing, website design, New York, New Jersey. That's reading the title tab right here. Now do you see this right here? Okay, where does it get this information from? Most of the time, it gets it from the meta description tag. So we're going to look at the code of the website, which is, I just did view source. This is going to show me the HTML source of the website. Now, don't get overwhelmed by this. You don't have to understand anything going on here. But what I do want to show you is how I define the title tag, which is right here. This is the title tag of the page. Okay, Radial Creation. Whoops, I did not want to do that. Let's go back here. Radial. This is the title tag, and this is what I showed you before what Google's reading. Now I'm using Yoast SEO on this, which is what I explained to you. Now here's the description. Radial Creation is a website design. This is the and symbol. This is the text that I chose for the description. I had some important keywords in here, and this is what it's reading right here. You see that? All pulling up from what I'm giving Google. This is the OG information that Facebook is using as well. A lot of it's copied from the regular tag, and I have an OG picture, and I have all that defined here. Okay, so that's as far as tags go. I think I've pretty much, there's a lot more to talk about, but not enough time. If anybody has any questions on the tags, please share them in the comments, and we'll move on to the next section. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the Google Analytics and Search Console. Let me just open that frame. Okay, so you want to know who's visiting your site, what traffic are you getting, where they're coming from. So Google has a built-in tool called Analytics, which actually studies everything of, basically it shows where the traffic's coming from, how many people are visiting the site, how many people are visiting those pages, which pages are more popular. You have all the trends and all the stats on the website. You can study the analytics and you can study the trends and make decisions based on that. You can see which pages are more popular. Google also has a tool called Search Console. I'm sorry, Google Search, it should be Search Console. Sorry about that. Search Console, which allows you to set a sitemap to Google. It allows you to check if there's any specific issues dealing with the SEO. So any site by default should have Google Analytics on it, and you should be using it without a question. Search Console, it should be used if you're doing active SEO. If you have any SEO issues, it should be used. I don't necessarily put that on all sites unless they need additional SEO services or if there's specific issues that they're having. So, but I can, let's see if I can give you a quick. I'm going to try to do a quick display of analytics. Let me just see if I'm logged into that account, and you can see the stats and trends. Hang on one second. Okay, let's do screen share on the analytics screen. Okay, here's analytics loading here. I don't know which site it's going to load because I have multiple Google accounts of multiple websites on different analytics platforms. Let's see what we have here. Let's open up. This account is, okay, this is actually a, I can't show this information here, but I'm going to have to log into a different account, and that's going to take time. So let's skip that for now. But that could be another time to show the Google Analytics what the dashboard looks like and how it works. But that should be on all sites, and any company that's doing a website for you or doing an SEO for you should be sharing that information with you. Okay, let's talk about the next. The next thing we're going to talk about is localization. Okay, you want to specify your geographic location because ultimately that's one of the most important influences that Google's going to use for determining how you're coming up in the search engines. If you're located in San Francisco and somebody's here and they search for your business, if somebody's does a search for web design, they're not going to get somebody in San Francisco. Google is going to look first for local places. Again, it uses a whole bunch of things as rankings, but the localization is one of those things that you don't have much control over because it's automatically within your geographic area that that Google's going to search. But what you do want to do is identify your geographic location in the content. So, for example, if you're located in Rockland County, right, you want to mention the words Rockland. You want to mention the words New York City if you service the New York City metro area. You want to mention the areas northern New Jersey. That text should be on the site. Google will read that. You also, sometimes if you have more than one location, add that into your Google My Business profile and add in your contact page both locations so that you'll have an additional network of locations that Google can identify you as servicing. So definitely identify your geographic location and try to do nearby places. Some people even do a page, we serve, where we service, and they'll put in all the local, municipalities that you don't want to stuff it. You don't want to put every single place in. If you're in Rockland County, don't put every single place in Rockland County. You want to put the main areas and just put the main. We service, X, Y, and Z, and we also service the entire, New York City metro, including Westchester and Long Island, and try to make it sentence case or bullet format. Don't just stuff it as keywords. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next section over here, which is we're up to number 9. Okay, so we got 2 more to go. There's more than 11. I just picked these as I kind of identified these as a good starting point. But these are the top that I put together here. Let's share my next one let's talk about blog posting. Okay, what is the idea of blog posting? I mean, blogs are very popular now, and many big companies are doing them. I recommend at least monthly to make a blog post. And the reason is, there's 2 reasons. First of all, Google likes to see new content on a website on a regular basis. They want to see that your company's active, it's dynamic, things are happening. And if you have the same old content sitting there for a long time, you are kind of, it gets stale, and Google sees that. So if you're adding blogs, it sees there's activity going on, it's exciting. So that's one reason to add blog posts. Also, you can add on blog posts, you're going to put in keywords of, there's going to be words in the content that are going to be important keywords for Google to read. Okay, you'll talk about your business things that go on, and Google sees those keywords and will help identify and bring in, SEO results to your site. Another advantage of blog posts that's not necessarily related to SEO, but should still get an honorable mention, is that it also identifies you and your company as an expert in the field. So if you're talking about various subjects that you're proud to publish and talk about, that establishes you as an expert in the field and builds credibility about who you are and what you do. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 10. We're almost done here. Number 10 is going to be social media. Social media is really a separate topic on its own. Social media marketing really is a whole nother topic and a whole other discussion, but it does relate very much so to SEO. And I'm going to talk about the connection of social media to SEO for all intents and purposes for this discussion right here. So the idea of social media is that there's one of the main things that you want to have a profile for all social media platforms for your company is that those pages will come up if you type a Google search of the company name. What you don't want is your competitor to come up. What you don't want is other irrelevant information to come up. You want first have your site come up, then have all the other company sites. Then have all your company social media pages come up. So if you type in, let's say, I'll just show you an example on my own site. If I type in, the company name, Now, Google sometimes decides to show a whole a broken down index of additional pages on your site, and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here right now. Okay, here's a Google search for Radial creations again. So for me, Google is very nice, and they built these additional page indexes when you type my company name. But look what the next index is: Radial creations on Twitter, right? So Google's picking up my Twitter page, then they're picking up my LinkedIn company page, and then then another LinkedIn page, Yelp, Facebook. You see that? They're picking up all those platforms first before anything else when they're displaying your company name. So it's very important to have a social media profile for each one of those items. Now, you don't want it to be empty. You don't want to show nothing there. So, you can, this is a whole other discussion about being active on social media, but the idea is, have some posts and things going on there, so it looks like things are a little active there. If you're not gonna be active on all platforms, just add things once in a while. Let's go back to the screen here. Social media profiles, they also boost your company and make it more legitimate. People see that there's things going on, there's activity on all the social media platforms. I would recommend maintaining a basic managed account for Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Those are all important for the search engines. Instagram, I would only recommend if you actually have pictures to post. Don't just have an Instagram page that doesn't have anything. If your company doesn't have the ability to have pictures. So for example, if you're an interior designer, if you do graphic design, those are all great things for Instagram. In my business, web design, although we do produce websites on a fairly regular basis, and we can add that to Instagram, it's really not enough to justify having Instagram because we're not going to have engaging pictures on a regular basis. So personally, I don't have Instagram. But if your business is a type that will benefit from it, definitely utilize it because that will also come up on the search. And another advantage if you have social media that you have active things happening there is that you can link those social media items to posts on your web. You can link them. Let's say you make a blog post. In social media, you go ahead and link to your blog post. That way, you'll be drawing more social media traffic to your website, and that's going to relate to the next section that we're going to talk about is inbound traffic and inbound links, which is my final and number 11 tip, which we're going to talk about right now, which I'm going to title as quality inbound links. Okay, and that's right here. In the olden days, people used to try to get as many links from external sites as they could because that was one of the main ranking things that Google used. It was one of the main things that they used was how many sites are linked to your site. Okay, today it's a different world. Google is looking for legitimate content. Google is looking for content that's original, that makes sense. And external links do play a role, but it's not quite the same way it used to be. But if you do have links to other websites, from other websites linking to your website that are from quality sites, and that's why I call it quality inbound links, not just inbound links, because if you're just on a directory, that's going to have very little value. If you're on a real, if you're linked to from a real site, that's going to have a lot of value. So, for example, if your website is linked on a .edu website, right? That means there's a college, there's a university that's referencing your site for information. Google will bump up that ranking a lot. It's a very highly valuable inbound link, and that's going to help you a lot. Also, if you're going to have, if you're going to write articles on your site or news, if you're going to have a blog and that blog is original content and people are linking to that, Google will see that as well. So the idea is to try to get quality inbound links, and you do that generally by having quality content. So that's, again, what Google is looking for. So that's really, I think we've finished that, number 11. So there could be things that I left out here, and the things I just had to put this on. I put this together a very quick notice. I really hope you enjoy that list. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Heshy Friedman. My company is Radial Creations, and this is what we do professionally. And I hope this gave you value. Like I said, feel free to reach out to me after. I'm going to share my email address to everybody in the comments here. And feel free to email me anytime for any questions. If you know anybody who needs this work professionally done, that's what we do as well. And again, any questions right now? If you don't have any questions, I'm going to sign out. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to take them. And everybody stay safe. Everybody don't stay indoors or stay in places where you have social distancing, but social distancing is only shouldn't be social distancing online. You know, everybody should still connect to their friends, connect online, and don't lose touch with people that you're friendly with. So I know in the word social distancing, we're talking about social media, and social distancing should only be physical social distancing. Keep in touch with everybody. Stay safe, everybody, and hopefully we'll pass through this soon. And Jacob, thank you. Jacob Usani, thank you for the opportunity. Somebody said there's a question on Facebook, so I'm actually in the Zoom comments here. Let me log into Facebook and see if I can find that question. If somebody doesn't mind posting that right here, I'd appreciate that, because I might not get to Facebook in time. Somebody wants to know, Rita wants to know, is there a limit on keywords you should use? Okay, so the answer to that is that there's definitely going to be a limit to using the title tag. There's a limit on the title tag. There's a limit on the meta description tag. If you're using the Yoast Yoast plugin, if it's a WordPress site, what you'll be able to do is Yoast shows you when you've exceeded the character limit. So you want to keep it within this character. Just go to Google, type character limit for meta description, character limit for meta tags, and you'll see the recommendations there. There is a character limit on, it's not a word limit, it's a character limit. But as far as content on a page itself, there's no limit to that. Just put content in there as long as it's in sentence format, as long as it makes sense and it's readable, then there's no limit. But just to have keywords listed as keywords without any relevance, that would be a problem, even if there are not a lot of them. So that shouldn't be done. Okay, for meta description, what limits are there? Again, the meta description should be in a sentence format. It should make sense. I don't know the exact word count, but if you just do a Google search, do recommended word count for meta description, you'll see that. And if you're using Yoast, you'll see when it turns from green into red, which means you're going over the limit of the description. If you go over the limit on a description, it's not really a big deal, because Google will just cut it off at the max point. You're just going to be missing out because it won't look necessarily like a proper sentence format under the search engine results page. So it's not recommended. If you go over, it's not a big deal though. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Let me just look on Facebook as well. I don't have this page open here on Facebook. Again, if anyone has any questions on Facebook, somebody can just bring them right here into Zoom, I'd appreciate that, because that's where I have the dashboard here. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So everybody, thank you for joining. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for the opportunity. Jacob Usani, thank you for the opportunity as well. And guys, there's going to be, Jacob is putting together, Jacob and Jake are putting together an amazing lineup of speakers, of presenters, you know, throughout this crazy time. You can educate yourself from the pros, get out there, learn new things, and once again, thank you for the opportunity. And Jacob just posted those the link to where you can find those other seminars, webinars that are coming up in the comments. So I'll leave this open a little longer so anybody can go and take that link and see the upcoming speakers and see what's going on. And once again, thank you for the opportunity. Everybody have a wonderful day and stay safe. We'll be in touch. Thank you.